Tonight, I'm taking you back to a quiet autumn morning in 1865, to the deep forests of Finland. Beside the Tamarkowski River, among the pine trees, a young engineer named Fredrik Idestam was establishing a quiet but destiny-changing paper mill. That morning, those thin, ordinary paper sheets that Fredrik held in his hands were actually beginning to write humanity's future. They were the first pages of the story of phones that would touch the lives of billions of people 150 years later. Tonight, I'll tell you Nokia's story. This isn't just the story of a company. It's the story of how a country adapted to the age of technology, how a small paper mill connected the world together. The story of a magnificent journey that began in Finland's snowy forests and reached the pockets in every corner of the world. In 1865, Finland was a distant region of the Russian Empire. Endless winters, black pine forests that seemed to stretch forever, and an ear-piercing silence. Fredrik Idestam had studied engineering in Helsinki and visited Europe's most modern paper factories. But he wanted to make a difference. The Tamarkowski waterfall was the perfect energy source for his factory. Clean water, quality wood, and Fredrik's unshakable determination. Fredrik named his factory Nokia, taking the name from the nearby Nokianverta River. No one could know that this simple name would one day become one of the world's most recognized brands. In those early years, Nokia only produced paper. For newspapers, the news that people would hold in their hands in the morning. For books, pages of new dreams and thoughts. For letter paper, lines that would go to distant loves. Fredrik's workers, in the snowy morning light, in the factory where large machines worked with monotonous sounds, carefully produced paper. Each page was not just paper. It was a symbol of Finland's future, its industrialization dreams, and passion for progress. Years passed and Nokia grew. In the early 1900s, the company wasn't just producing paper, but also entering rubber and cable production. While Nokia's rubber division produced galoshes that protected children's feet in cold Finnish winters, the cable department was laying Finland's first telephone lines. This diversity was ingrained in Nokia's soul. This was the secret power that would carry it to the world in the future. During long winter nights, lights burned in Nokia's factories. Workers would warm their hopes with the lights filtering through the dark factory windows before sunrise, never stopping production, even in the middle of snowstorms. That Finnish determination shown on those ice-cold mornings would become the foundation of the resolve that would one day help Nokia conquer the world. In the 1920s, the company operated in 3 different sectors: paper, rubber, and cable. Each was a separate department, a separate area of expertise. But their ideals were shared, to carry Finland into the future. But there was one thing that united them all: the pursuit of perfection. When the 1960s arrived, the world was changing rapidly. Nokia's managers had understood that electronics was the future. But Jan Westerlund made perhaps one of the boldest decisions of the era. He would take Nokia into the unknown world of electronics. Nokia would enter the electronics sector. The first electronic products were simple: radios, television receivers, basic communication equipment. In the new laboratories in Helsinki, young engineers worked late into the night, dealing with the mysteries of transistors and circuits. While the freezing snowstorms of the north raged outside, the small laboratories inside were filled with sparks that warmed humanity's future. In the 1970s, Nokia began producing equipment for Finland's telephone network. The engineers working on these projects didn't know it yet, but they were laying the foundations of mobile communication. Every connection, every signal, was part of the future mobile revolution. In the early 1980s, Nokia took another step toward one of the most important decisions in its history. It would enter the mobile phone sector. At that time, mobile phones were giant devices installed in cars. Motorola's Dyna TAC had just hit the market, but it was as expensive as a house. Jorma Ollila, Nokia's young and visionary CEO, adopted a different approach. Mobile phones shouldn't be just for the rich, but for everyone, he said. In Nokia's Helsinki laboratories, engineers worked for days, searching for ways to make phones smaller, lighter, and more affordable. In 1987, Nokia Mobira Cityman hit the market. It was introduced as the world's lightest handheld phone. That small device that Gorbachev held in his hand transformed into a giant symbol in the world's eyes. That photograph wasn't just a phone advertisement, but the herald of a new era. The 1990s marked the beginning of Nokia's golden age. As the Soviet Union was collapsing, as the Berlin Wall was falling, the world was becoming smaller and more connected. During these great changes, Nokia was in exactly the right place at the right time. With the end of the Cold War, technology was also becoming democratized, and ordinary people were gaining access to advanced technology. Nokia 1011, released in 1992, was the company's first commercial GSM phone. With its black plastic body, extending antenna, and green screen, the 1011 sparked the revolution of mobile phones. But it was still expensive, and only businessmen could use it. Nokia engineers were working day and night to change this situation. The real revolution came in 1998, Nokia 3210. This phone was the turning point that transformed mobile phones from luxury items to everyday tools. With its simple design, plain plastic body, durability, and affordable price, Nokia 3210 became a phenomenon. The antenna embedded in the body, color screen, interchangeable covers. Every detail appealed to young people's lives. In Nokia's factory in Oulu, Finland, tens of thousands of phones were produced daily. The factory was the heart of the city. Shifts starting at 6 a.m. would continue until late evening, and the production line never stopped. Workers would come to the factory even in snowstorms, carefully producing phones that would be sent to every corner of the world. In the quality control section, each device was tested individually, subjected to drop tests, and charge cycles were counted. In those years, Nokia employees were aware that they were producing not just phones, but the future. Every evening when they returned home, they knew they were changing the world. On Oulu's quiet streets, Nokia-branded service vehicles would leave the factory every day, head toward the airport, and from there, carry Nokia phones to every corner of the world. In 2000, Nokia released the 3310, the most iconic product in its history. This phone wasn't just a phone, but became the symbol of an era. They say, it's impossible to break a Nokia 3310, and this was really true. The design team in Helsinki put durability above everything else when developing the 3310. In test laboratories, phones were dropped from 2 meters high, crashed into steel floors, and even hit with hammers. It was tested like a tank. In temperature tests, they were subjected to temperatures from -40 degrees to +85 degrees, and in humidity tests, they were left underwater. Engineers thought, a Nokia should outlive its owner. Every test contributed to the Nokia 3310 legend. The Snake game was the most popular mobile game of that era. The Snake made of simple pixels provided hours of entertainment on Nokia 3310's small screen. Students would secretly play Snake during classes. Workers would try to achieve the highest score during break times. This game was the first step of mobile gaming. Polyphonic ringtones even changed the music industry. The Nokia Tune ringtone became recognizable in every corner of the world. Nokia versions of famous songs were being made. Ringtone markets were forming. Young people learned to program their own ringtones, showing their creativity on this small screen. Interchangeable covers were among the first examples of personalization. Transparent, metallic, shiny, matte. There were dozens of color and pattern options. Each Nokia 3310 reflected its owner's personality. Changing covers was one of the most popular activities of that era. In every corner of the world, young people discovered the mobile world with Nokia 3310. in Africa's remote villages, Asia's crowded cities, Europe's quiet towns. Nokia 3310 was everywhere. This phone had become a symbol of globalization. In those years, Nokia was the world's largest mobile phone manufacturer. Its market share exceeded 40%, and a Nokia phone was sold somewhere in the world every second. Phones emerging from Finland were truly connecting the world together. Nokia shares constituted 4% of Finland's economy. The small Scandinavian country had become the center of the technology world. In 2007, Steve Jobs introduced the iPhone. The iPhone created a tectonic break in the mobile world. Touchscreen, internet, applications, camera, music player. Phones were no longer just communication tools, but pocket computers. Jobs' stage performance changed the standard of technology presentations. Alarm bells were ringing at Nokia's Helsinki headquarters. But the company's senior executives thought the iPhone was just an expensive toy. They thought carrying the internet in your pocket was absurd. They asked, "How do you type messages without a physical keyboard?" This was Nokia's biggest miscalculation in history. Nokia's engineers actually had much more advanced technologies. The Symbian operating system was very advanced for that era. Nokia N95 was even superior to the iPhone in terms of technical specifications. GPS, 5-megapixel camera, video recording, Wi-Fi. All of these existed in Nokia first. But the user experience remained very complex compared to the iPhone. Nokia's culture focused on engineering perfection. Every device was designed to work in the harshest conditions. But Apple had brought user experience to the forefront. Nokia phones worked perfectly and never broke down. Apple had conquered hearts rather than engineering. In 2008, Nokia made a late entry into the smartphone market. Nokia N95, Nokia N97, they were technologically ambitious, but the user experience remained crude compared to the iPhone. Touchscreens weren't sensitive. The operating system was slow. There was no app store. While Finland's perfectionist engineers focused on technical features, Apple had prioritized user experience. During this period, there was great confusion at Nokia. Different departments were following different strategies. Product development processes were taking longer, and Nokia, whose market share was rapidly eroding, was in panic. Nokia employees returning to Helsinki could no longer talk about their company with the same pride as before. In 2011, Nokia CEO Stephen Elop made the most controversial decision in the company's history: partnership with Windows Phone instead of Android. In his Burning Platform letter, he dramatically described Nokia's situation. The company was on a burning oil platform and needed to jump. But the platform it would jump to was Windows Phone. This decision led to major discussions within Nokia. Engineers thought Android's open-source structure would be more suitable for Nokia. But Elop was a former Microsoft employee and believed in Windows Phone. Voices rose in meetings. Engineers defended their own ideas, but the decision had been made. Nokia Lumia series was released together with Windows Phone. Lumia 800, Lumia 900, Lumia 920. They were very successful in terms of design. Colorful plastic bodies, Carl Zeiss lenses, wireless charging features. Technically, they were perfect. But the Windows Phone ecosystem never developed. There were few applications, no Google services. Developers were uninterested. This decision was a disaster for Nokia. Windows Phone never became a rival to Android or iOS. While Nokia was a world giant, it had now turned into just a 3% shadow. Nokia's market share rapidly eroded. Bad news came every quarter. The company that was Finland's pride now lived only in memories. In 2013, Microsoft bought Nokia's mobile division for $7.2 billion. This figure was only 1/10 of Nokia's value when it was at its peak. The sale news created a national mourning atmosphere in Finland. The 150-year story was thus coming to an end. Nokia employees in Finland quietly left their offices that day, with cardboard boxes in their hands, containing years of memories. The Oulu factory closed. Thousands of people became unemployed. The journey that began with a paper factory would continue in other hands. Nokia's decline marked the end of an era. In 2016, Nokia returned to the phone market by partnering with HMD Global. This time it was different. Nokia was now using Android. It was late, but finally the right step had been taken. Nokia's former engineers were making a new beginning at HMD Global. The relaunch of Nokia 3310 created a wave of nostalgia and curiosity that swept the entire fair. The booth at Mobile World Congress was filled with nostalgic Nokia fans. The modern version of the old 3310 contained both the old and the new. 4G connection, camera, Wi-Fi hotspot. But that familiar design was still there. New Nokia phones were being produced under the Android One program. Clean Android experience, regular updates, long support period. Nokia was trying to combine the quality of the old with the new world. Nokia 7 Plus, Nokia 8 Sirocco. Each model was a new step in Nokia's comeback. Today, Nokia is one of the pioneers of 5G technology. It still holds the position of a world giant in telecommunications infrastructure. Engineers in Finland continue to develop next-generation network technologies. Nokia Bell Labs is still one of the world's most prestigious research centers. The foundations of 6G technology are again being laid in Nokia laboratories. Nokia's story teaches us this: adaptability is the most critical quality of technology companies. Nokia, which transformed from a paper factory to a mobile phone giant, showed the power of adapting to change. Missing the smartphone revolution reminded us that no success in the technology world is guaranteed. Even the biggest companies can become history if they can't catch the change. Nokia's decline wasn't just the story of one company, but also a lesson given to the entire technology industry. It showed that user experience is more important than technical features, that ecosystem is more valuable than individual products. Apple's success came not just from making better phones, but from forming emotional bonds with its users. Nokia's legacy to Finland is much greater. The company had made the small Scandinavian country a technology center. All of these are products of the technology culture Nokia created. Helsinki, Oulu, Tampere. Finland's cities are full of technology startups. Perhaps Nokia's greatest legacy was showing technology's human face. The engineers working in those harsh Finnish winters were producing not just devices, but bridges that connected people to each other. Every Nokia phone was a tool that strengthened our bond with our loved ones. Now close your eyes and listen to those quiet Finnish forests. The wind blowing through the pine trees whispers the story of phones that once connected the world together. The story that began with Fredrik's hands continues to live in every technological device you hold today. Nokia's story continues to live every time you touch your phone, every time you send a message,